Welcome to episode 207 of Studio Talent Collective, the podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about AI, but not in the way that you may expect. And that is, I'm not going to be your guru, your AI expert, or tell you all the ways in which you can use AI. I'll leave that to the others, right? What I'm here to talk about is actually the opposite. Because I believe just because you can use AI for everything doesn't mean you should. It doesn't mean you have to. And it doesn't mean it's always right to use. Now, some of you may be thinking, wait a minute, the gurus are telling me the opposite of what you just said, Joe. So I'm not really sure, but I'm going to explain to you in this episode exactly what I'm talking about. And this actually was inspired. This episode was inspired by a conversation I had with a friend who's actually super tech savvy, worked in the tech industry, has developed apps and all sorts of things, traveled to the US to meet, all the people within this tech space, etc. And really, understands that side of things. And even they're in the same mind that just because you can use AI for everything doesn't mean you should. So I want to talk about that conversation that I had with a friend, but also what exactly I mean and how sometimes AI or the pressure of using AI can negatively impact your business. All right, let's hope you're open-minded for this one, friends. Let's jump into the show. I'm Josephine Lancuba and welcome to Studio Talent Collective, the podcast for dance and performing arts studio owners. Here we share industry insights, inspiring stories, and real talk to help you build a thriving studio and in-house talent agency. As a performing arts business coach and talent agent, I'm all about dreaming big and growing together as a community. You're in the right place. Let's leap in. Here's a quick message from one of our sponsors. Studio owners, are you ready to add a fresh income-generating class without hiring extra staff? Set the Scene is your plug-and-play acting program designed just for dance and performing arts studios. Created by a studio owner for studio owners. No drama degree needed, just space on your timetable. Position your studio as a leader in performing arts while nurturing creativity, confidence, and life skills in every student. Head to setthescene.kids or head to the links in the show notes to see how studio owners across Australia and the USA are elevating their studios with Set the Scene and how you can too. On with the show. Okay, so the other day I was in a workroom with a couple of fabulous ladies, and this is our opportunity to get together every Monday. It's not my accountability call group. I actually do two groups on a Monday. I do my accountability call first thing in the morning at 8 a.m. every Monday with my lovely business ladies. And then I jump into another networking session. And then I jump into a workroom. So Monday is all about just setting up my week for success and getting stuff done. I also do some money. I do Money Mondays and Monday mapping. And that's all done through these workrooms. But anyway, this particular day was interesting because we were in the workroom and there's a timer. So what we do is we have someone within the group that is an allocated timekeeper, and every 45 minutes the bell goes off. We're in a Zoom room together. And we check in with each other every 45 minutes and then we go, great, this is what we're doing. Great, bang, bang, bang. All right, 45-minute time on, go, as in do the work. And we all just switch our cameras off, go on mute and start knocking out the work until the next time ticker goes. Anyway, I know that sounds really hardcore, but it's actually kind of fun. And gosh, we get so much done on a Monday. I actually use it as my content scheduling day. Because what was happening was I just would put it into my calendar and I wasn't really being disciplined to do it, even though I'm pretty disciplined when it comes to my work, but it just wasn't happening. So because something else would take precedence, something else would take priority. So I ended up just putting it into this workroom environment, which has been a beautiful thing. Now, what happened after the first 45 minutes, and this is where the AI conversation comes in, is we come back from the 45 minutes and one of my friends, she had done a newsletter, which she sent out to her database in that 45 minutes. I scheduled up a bunch of content. And then the other woman in the room, in our workroom, said, I scheduled 4 newsletters across 4 weeks for the whole month. She did that in 45 minutes. Now, both women used AI to structure their newsletter and sent it out. One produced 1 newsletter and the other produced 4 in the same time frame. And that I thought was really interesting. Now, the difference between the 2 women is, one of them said she had a framework and, blah, blah, blah. And so it just spat it out quick and she was able to get it all out. The other one, though, probably put a bit more, I would say a little bit more love into it. And she went and she got the template from AI, but then went in and really tweaked it, personalized it, added personal imagery to the newsletter to enhance it, different images. And so my point being is that, yes, one person spat out 4 newsletters, but do you sometimes wonder if that we are using AI for the sake of using AI, just producing content for the sake of producing content, and that there comes a point where everyone kind of knows when something has been produced by AI. And when you know something is produced by AI, if that changes the way you feel or connect with the content. Now, that's not to say you don't use it, but what I'm saying is that there is a fine line when I believe just because you can use AI for everything doesn't mean you should. Now, I have a client that has completely 100% automated their enrollment process in their studio. What's happened isn't, and they haven't actually connected the dots. I have, and I've suggested it, but you can tell when someone doesn't want to hear it because AI is easier, right? So they have had a drop of enrollments, which happens to coincide with the period in which they've gone completely automated on their enrollment system. And what I mean by automated is no human interaction, okay? It's all just preset emails, funneling, etc., links to enroll online and all the things. So what's happened is they're getting less enrollments, etc., and their client base has dropped. Even though they're screaming from the rooftops that AI is the best thing since sliced bread and that it's amazing and it's revolutionary and oh my God, I've saved so much time. Okay, but you've also lost your clients. And so here's the thing, and I'll say it again, just because you can use AI for everything doesn't mean you should. Now, sometimes I think there's a blurred line between, technology and the capabilities of that versus ethical use. So, for example, we're now seeing people not using themselves in their video content. I've even seen this in the dance and performing arts business coach space where they're replicating themselves and using AI to replicate them and speak to their audience. And they're being forthcoming that it is an AI version of themselves, but I don't know, to me, that takes away credibility. If I know I'm not being spoken to by a human and it is just an AI bot, that to me doesn't feel authentic. And why would I take advice from an AI human if I know it's an AI human? It just feels wild to me that just because you can create a version of yourself on AI means you should. I would rather show up not looking perfect, no makeup, etc., and just rocking up on camera and saying hi and telling my story, than having AI Joe. Sounds like, is that G.I. Jane? I was about to say G.I. Joe. Is there a G.I. Joe? Please let me know. You can email podcast@josephinelancuba.com. But yeah, I just think sometimes AI Joe would be just so unauthentic, and I get it. I totally get the time saving. You don't have to show up. It's a beautiful thing. There are so many benefits to that. But then I also go, what happens to human connection? I believe, and I've actually heard this in the business space, that people are craving human connection now. And that is why the price of digital products are dropping, like digital courses and stuff are starting to drop, because people just won't pay for it anymore if it is a completely digital experience, as in pre-recorded, all that thing. They're paying for higher prices for more hybrid models where they actually get to speak to someone and have them coach them along in the process. Doesn't matter if it's on Zoom, but as long as you're getting a real human, I think that's really important, and someone you can connect to and ask questions. Human judgment is irreplaceable. So things like empathy, creativity, moral reasoning, that matters more than automation. And so you can't replicate your creativity or your empathy or your moral reasoning through an AI version of yourself. Just like your voice is not the same when AI has created certain, aspects of your marketing messaging, your copy, your newsletter. Now, that's not to say you don't use AI. Heck, I use AI. I even punched into AI just for funsies today. Name a few bullet points for my podcast episode called "Just because you can use AI for everything doesn't mean you should," right? And it gave me a few ideas, but, I'm going to keep it real and not work off a script. I don't like to work off a script. I've actually tried that once using AI for my podcast. I won't tell you what episode it is. You can probably guess. And I felt, it just felt really uncomfortable. I left the episode as it was. I thought, you know what? The episode's good. Probably no one can tell. And I injected my own personality and stuff into it, but it felt, it just didn't feel 100% aligned to me. And I just thought, I'm not doing that again. I tried it. I tried the AI thing and I just was like, oh, that's not human. Like, that's not me. Yes, it had my messaging and it was, an essence of who I am, but the words weren't exactly who I am. And so again, I changed it and I added my own flavor and all that jazz, but it still felt a little bit rigid. And so I just won't be doing that. I'm not into that. And I think that it's okay to say, if I don't use AI, it's not the end of the world. My business is not going to be behind or tarnished or left behind. And I think that's one of the major concerns that we're seeing now. So what we're being told, I'm 42 years old, right? So I get all these ads and they're so annoying. They're the ones that whisper at you. Do you get those whispering ads? God, I just now press the cross every time they come up on my feed, and I'm like, oh my God, get them out of the algorithm that they're being fed to me, please, because I can't. And they go, if you're over 40, they whisper, it's so annoying. Ready? If you're over 40 and you're using AI just to, type something into GPT, then you're missing out, right? And then they go, teenagers are making millions of dollars using AI. What are you doing? You're over 40, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh my God, like your annoying little whisper voice is not helping. Are you trying to get into my subconscious? Like, is this some disgusting, icky marketing tactic to get into my subconscious mind? Anyway, I mean, hey, I guess it worked because I remembered it, right? And I'm talking about it right now. But it didn't work because it turned me off and I just clicked them off. I'm like, ew, go away. You're gross. You're grossing me out. I hate this ad so much. But the point is, what the idea of this advertisement that I keep getting is that I'm over 40 and I don't know how to use AI properly. And kids are using AI, making millions of dollars because they know how to use it to their advantage. But I'm over 40 and I don't, and I have to learn how to use it if I'm over 40 and run a business. Otherwise, I'm going to be left behind. That's the essence of the marketing message. So it's feeding into the fear that I don't know enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I don't have, the knowledge that I require to move forward within these new tech times. And I just think it's rubbish. It's absolute rubbish. I recently read a book called The Third Door. Who's the author? Alex, what's his surname? I'm not the best with remembering authors' names. I read lots of books. Alex Banyan. Yeah, so The Third Door by Alex Banyan. Great book, super fun. And, it's about the mindset of success. It's sort of like he talks about how you want to get into the nightclub and, 90% of people will line up at the front door and that queue will wrap around the corner. The other 9% will have a VIP access, and then 1% are, running through the kitchen back door, trying to get in through the waiters section, blah, 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 and the bar just to sneak their way into the venue. And it's about how, you can be successful via the third door. You don't always have to have a front row seat or be a VIP. You can just find a way to get into the building. If you want, there's always a third door. It's not obvious, but it's there. Anyway, so that particular book was something that I was reading, and that actually had a story where the author met Larry King, and he tells Larry King he wants to interview people, this guy Alex, and he's like, how do I become a great interviewer? How do I get these amazing people like Bill Gates and stuff to talk to me? They won't talk to me. How do I get them to talk to me? And he's like, well, you just go and knock on their door, Larry King says. And then he's like, well, yeah, okay. And he's like, how did you do it? He said, I went and knocked on their door. I went and visited them in their office buildings, and I actually went and spoke to them in person. And he's like, okay, but that was then. This is now. This is, it's 2025, right? We don't knock on doors anymore. How do I get these people to talk to me? He goes, I would go and knock on their door, because nothing, not even in this day and age, can replace human connection. And it was at that point that Alex realized that all the interviews he'd had so far with these big names was because at some point he'd met them somewhere or met with a colleague who knew them or whatever, but it was always not from the emails. It was about being in the room. And so what I'm talking about is that human connection can never be replaced. And if you want to sell and you want to enroll, you can't remove all aspects of that. Sure, you can get software like Enrolio and online onboarding and all the things and have all these automations. But at the end of the day, nothing beats picking up the phone, shooting a text message, sending a video message, a personalized video message. Hi, it's Joe. How are you going? I think that we are missing that right now, and businesses are suffering. Businesses are suffering because no one wants to pick up the bloody phone or jump on camera or have a conversation, a real one, not an automated one, even an email. I call it my millionaire email. And what that means is I read a book called, How to Be a Millionaire or something? If we Could All Be Millionaires. I'm just looking it up because that was the best. I love that book, so fun. Book. What's it called? We Should All Be Millionaires. That's right. It's called We Should All Be Millionaires. And the author is Rachel Rogers. And it's a woman's guide to earning more, building wealth, and gaining economic power. So that particular book was interesting because in the book, she talks about all these different things and her life story of, rags to riches, all the things that, these people typically talk about. But also she gives an example of an email that she sends to people. And it's not fancy. And I've now saved a template of it and I call it my millionaire email. And all it is a genuine reach out. The format is simple. Hey, my name's Josephine. This is what I do. And this is how I help people. If that sounds interesting to you, I'd love to have a conversation. Would you like to have a chat sometime about it? That's it. Very simple, 2 sentences, really to the point, right? And I'm saying that sometimes that little personal reach out where you're just genuine, you might do a reach out to a family, that came to a trial or wants to trial but didn't follow through, you could send them a text message saying, hey, Johnny, we noticed that, your daughter didn't come in last Saturday for their trial. Just wondering if everything's okay. Did you want to rebook? It's Joe here, the director of the studio. Did you want to rebook for next week? ? Super simple, right? Personal reach out. And usually that'll be like, oh yeah, sorry, we just got caught up. Yeah, absolutely. We'd love to do that. And I think, and sometimes even just like, you might say, well, we have template texts that do that, but even those have a stop reply at the end. I remember I actually booked a trial recently with a studio, and I actually know the studio owner, and I got a message from her phone and I thought, oh, that's nice. They're messaging me personally to send me a reminder. That's nice. And then when I opened the message at the bottom, I could see it was automated because it says, press reply stop to stop messages, or yes if you're, and I'm like, and I went, oh, okay, it's automated. I was excited because I thought, oh, that's nice. She's messaging me personally, like how kind. And then when I realized it was automated, I went, ugh, like, yeah. And I get it, right? Automation, because you can't be sending 300 messages all at once and not, but sometimes a little personal touch goes a long way. Do not rule it out. You can't automate everything. I truly believe that. Okay, now to prove my point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the bullet points that AI gave me, and they're going to be so different to what I just talked about. But this is how it's worded it. And so now you'll see. And so bear with me. I'm going to read these bullet points. So the question again that I typed into AI was, name some points for my podcast episode called Just Because You Can Use AI for Everything Doesn't Mean You Should. All right. Number 1, balancing efficiency with values, the dangers of prioritizing convenience and speed over quality, privacy, or ethics. I mean, what does that even mean? I have to really think about that to figure that out. Efficiency with values. Okay, yeah, cool. We've talked about that. Yes, just because something is faster doesn't mean that it aligns to your values, and that maybe that personal touch provides more value to the people you serve. Here's a good point. The human touch, where AI lacks emotional intelligence or cultural understanding, and why that's vital. It's true. And we've talked about that. Those nuances, right? It's about those nuances that AI can't replicate. Yes, it can punch out 4 newsletters in 45 minutes and you can schedule them out. But are they lacking emotional intelligence or the cultural understanding of your community? And I think that's actually super important. Okay, here we go. Potential for bias amplification. How unchecked AI solutions can reinforce existing prejudices or create new problems. I mean, yeah, whatever. Here's another one. The importance of content. Why one-size-fits-all AI solution might fail in nuanced real-world scenarios. Yeah, whatever. Okay, it's all boring. This is my point. It's all boring. Okay, it's very standard stuff. And that's, again, coming through those nuances that you can't replicate. Anyway, so what I would say is use AI. I use AI. But be sure to not neglect personal touch, especially in a studio environment, because that is a community-based business. So make it a hybrid in your communication. Infuse that personal touch with automation. Make a point of it. And I promise that you will see better engagement when you do that. People know now. People are more savvy than you think. When something's written by AI and when it's not. People are savvy, so you need to get savvy too. Don't make content for the sake of making content. Review what AI is punching out for you. Infuse personal touch with your approach, and remember that the customer's experience is your job. Yeah, that's your job to provide an amazing customer experience, and that comes with connection. Thanks for listening. This episode is brought to you by Studio Talent Collective, helping you go from studio owner to talent manager with confidence. Ready to start your own in-house talent agency? Connect with me at josephinelancuba.com or via the links in the show notes. If you enjoyed this episode, please share, rate, and review. Thanks for listening and keep shining.